What's going on, everybody? It's Chaz with Homegrown How To. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time, thanks for stopping by. In today's video, we're going to be talking about winterizing your irrigation system. I'm going to be hooking up my air compressor to my sprinkler system. I'll be blowing out all of the water that is within the pipes just to prevent that from freezing. Now, blowing out your irrigation system in the fall, if you are in an area that freezes, is essential. Because this water freezes and then it melts, that water expands and contracts and can cause unwanted pressure on the pipes, causing them to crack. It can crack the pipes, it can crack the valves, and if you have a backflow preventer, it can also crack that. Those valves get a little bit more expensive, and the backflow preventers are very expensive. They're about $200 to $400 depending on brand and size and stuff like that, but those can get pretty costly as well. Luckily for me, I do not have a backflow preventer. We use a secondary water supply within the city that I live in for our irrigation. It is not considered drinking water. It's not safe to drink. I pay the exact same amount no matter how much water I do use. We do have restrictions within the city though for watering, so I do follow those restrictions, but how closely they are monitored, I have no idea. But I'm pretty responsible with that. Anyways, I do only water my lawn about twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week if we're in the super hot months and the grass is struggling a little bit, but it's still not every week. Every now and then I'll throw a 3rd cycle on, but typically only do 2 cycles per week during the growing season. So back to where I was. I don't have a backflow preventer. What the backflow preventer does is it prevents any contaminated water from getting into your potable drinking water. You can hook up your air compressor in a location on these backflow preventers to blow those out. Some people also have other areas where they add little valves similar to the one I've got here. I'll show you what I've got. So the first thing you're going to want to do when blowing out your sprinklers is first you're going to want to turn off the water. So some people may have a water turn off to their sprinklers in their house if they're using their drinking water as their irrigation supply. But so my turnoff is right here. This is my irrigation turnoff. This is the city turnoff. On a side note, look at that germination of that Kentucky bluegrass growing through here. And that grass will grow anywhere, that grass seed. I did pre-germinate my grass seed and overseeded that this fall, so check out that video. I'll leave that in the description below. First things first, we're going to turn off the water. Next, you're going to want to connect your air compressor into your irrigation system. I'll show you how I do that on mine. Mine may be a little bit different than yours. Again, you may be connecting into your backflow preventer to blow these out. Down here I've got 4 valves as well as this ball valve here. So this ball valve and this little nipple, that's where I blow out my sprinkling system. So I've got the water off. There should be no pressure going into there. So I like to come in here and turn this, make sure no water comes out. There's just a little bit that's going to pop out there. So there we go. And then this little nipple here, that's where I'm going to connect my air compressor, and then I will charge that up and we'll start blowing that out. We've got the air compressor hose hooked up to my blowout here. Again, that's just a little ball valve that I've got glued onto the end of my manifold. And so what you can do is you can actually manually screw these. I did just get one of those Wi-Fi sprinkler timers, so I can kind of just control things from my phone rather than having to run back and forth to my box or using these manual valves. And this is my awesome 20-gallon compressor I'll be using. This is a Craftsman compressor. I've always used this when blowing out my sprinklers. I use this a lot when I'm working on my vehicles as well. It's pretty cool, pretty awesome machine here. I love it. I've got it plugged in up here. I'll go ahead and turn that on. Alright, so while I've got that compressor charging up, first I'll be blowing out my drip irrigation system. So I'm going to go around to those irrigation lines, find the main lines, and we've got some figure 8s on those. You're going to want to remove those just so that you aren't adding too much pressure into your small 1/4 inch lines, and you'll quickly blow those out. You'll have no issues. So this here is one of those figure 8s I was talking about on the drip irrigation. You can just go ahead and slide those down. I also like to take a pair of pliers and kind of pinch where the kink was. This just allows for a smoother flow of the water. Alright, so using this Imolaza app is super simple. I just did my drip irrigation, as you saw. Now I'm going to do my zone 1, which is my park strip, and then I come down here to quick run, and let's do a new quick run, and then I'm going to do my park strip zone 1. Click play on this on the park strip, and you will see those pop up and start spraying. So you'll just continue spraying until you see basically fog coming out of these. You might see the heads kind of pop up and down a little bit as well. But as soon as you start seeing the fog, you are pretty good to go. So you can see this far sprinkler over here, it's got some fog coming out of it. These ones are kind of starting to jump up and down as well. Now that there's no more water coming out, I'm going to go ahead and stop that. So now we're going to go ahead and blow out my third zone here. When doing this job, I set my compressor to 60 psi. This just ensures that I do not add too much pressure into the system, along with causing too much friction from the air being pushed through, damaging some of the major components. When I did install my in-ground irrigation system, I did put drains on my lines, which is a common practice on modern in-ground sprinkling systems, is to put these little drains in. Once you turn off the water, those drains activate because there's no longer any pressure on them, and they will drain water out that way. I do have about 2 or 3 drains placed on each one of my zones, so even if I didn't blow out my sprinklers, I'd probably be okay. I'm going to go ahead and run the 2 back zones. I've got one going along the back patio, one going along the back fence. Those are both rotary head zones, so we'll go ahead and show you kind of what the rotary heads look like when you're spraying those out as well. I'm here at my back patio. Let's click run. You hear the air kind of starting to go through there a little bit. And this one being the last sprinkler on the zone, it is going to be the last one to shoot out any water, so we'll kind of wait until it gets to that point and shut that off. With any of the lines that you are blowing out, you want to make sure that the last sprinkler on the zone is done shooting out the water. You want to get as much of that water out of there as you can. Once it starts shooting some fog, you can be good to go ahead and turn off that zone and call it a season for that zone. Check out those stripes. They're still looking pretty good. Haven't mowed this in about a week. The growing is starting to slow down because we're getting the cooler temps, but the stripes are still looking nice. God bless America. Got another one coming in right over here. Got a military base right by our house. We always get these sick helicopters flying over. It's pretty awesome. So this one being the first one in the line, this one should be the first one to shut off here. Second one's starting to fog a little bit. Third one should be fogging here any second. Third one's starting to fog. Fourth one over there is actually jumping up and down more than this third one. But you can see this one's going to be the last one to kind of fog out and jump up and down there. We'll give her a minute. Start hearing that air flowing through there. We will call that a season for my irrigation system. Kind of a sad day, especially for us lawn care folk. But it was a great season, you know. I think the lawn looked the best and withstood any disease and stress better than this year than it has any other year. But it's been a great season, and I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out, and hopefully I can get a few more mows in still before the grass completely stops growing. But it seems like my leaves are not keeping up with the colder temps. We just kind of all of a sudden hit freezing cold temperatures out of nowhere and have had a couple snowfalls, and the leaves are starting to change colors a little bit, some of the trees, but leaves are starting to change colors. They haven't dropped much in the back here. My ash trees in the front have just started dropping the leaves a couple days ago. So I'll have to get some mows in, especially to mulch in some of those leaves and to clean them up as well. But I still got my garden bed project that I'm working on. I've got some green lines painted. I'll be opening up all that garden bed, hence why those few sprinklers were dug up. I'm going to be capping one of those off, moving the other one. But this is all going to be a new garden bed. I want to plant some trees to kind of shade the basketball court a little bit, plus also make the backyard pop a little bit more. We spend like almost all of our time out here in the spring, summer, and early fall, and so more trees. I love trees. I love my lawn too, but I might like trees a little more than my lawn, maybe. I don't know. So follow along to see that project. I've got a video in the works on that. Follow along, subscribe to the channel, ask me any questions. Go ahead and drop those down in the comment section below. Thumbs up this video if you thought this video was helpful. Thanks for watching. Y'all have a good day.